To express probabilities, obligations, habits, and more, we often use words like must, can't, should, and might. These modal auxiliaries can be found just about anywhere and have multiple applications, but they also play by their own rules. Here are 10 things to know about modal verbs. 1. There are only 9 principal modals. Must has a strong implication, shall and should are moderate, and may and might are weak, while can and could cover every potential. Meanwhile, will and would are more neutral, almost matter-of-fact. 2. 8 of the 9 principal modals come in pairs. The 2 words of a pair have similar meanings, and we often switch from the first to the second when backshifting, as we do in reported speech. Other than that, the difference between the 2 words in a pair depends on the modal flavor. 3. Each modal has multiple meanings. They can be modals of obligation, or modals of deduction, modals of ability, modals of advice, of possibility, of habit, regret, expectation, prohibition, and more. All of these can be sorted into 3 categories, or flavors. Modals of speculation express the speaker's beliefs and conclusions, including assessments of possibility and probability. Modals of regulation express ideals, whether they belong to the speaker or the speaker is just passing them along. They include directives of permission and obligation. Modals of function express the subject's capabilities and inclinations, and include abilities and habits. You probably don't need to remember all the terms, but knowing which applications are grouped together helps us understand the various grammar rules. 4. To make modals of speculation and modals of regulation past, we add have after the modal. Make sure that whichever verb follows have is in the perfect participle form. 5. Regardless of tense, the verb that immediately follows the modal, which is often the main verb of the clause, but not always, needs to be in its base form. It should not have an ing, ed, or s suffix, or undergo any other changes. 6. The modal itself should not undergo any changes to its form under any circumstance. We would never say coulded, or musting, or shoulds, or anything of the sort, nor should modals ever be preceded by the word to. While all other verbs inflect, depending on the auxiliary verb that comes before it or on the subject, modals should only ever be in their base form. Because of this discrepancy with every other verb, modals are called defective. 7. We can replace defective modals so that they're easier to work with grammatically. The appropriate replacement phrase depends on the flavor, but most come in the form of be blank to. These replacements allow us to do things like express the past tense with more clarity or effectively place 2 modal meanings back to back. 8. In addition to the 9 principal modals, there are a handful of semimodals or pseudomodals, words or phrases that serve the same or similar purposes as modal verbs and that have some but not all of those modal properties. For instance, phrases like ought to and had better are defective. You may or may not study these phrases alongside the principal modals. 9. Modal verbs reflect the mood of a sentence and often indicate an unreal mood, which expresses anything short of accepted absolute reality. As we've seen, some modals communicate what the speaker believes might be true, as opposed to what is confirmed or generally assumed to be true. We apply such modals to future predictions, deductive reasoning, conditional sentences, and other hypothetical situations. Other modals communicate desires and regulations for how things should be, as opposed to how things actually are. We apply such modals to future plans, requests, wishes and regrets, more conditional sentences, and other expressions of standards or restrictions. These are just some of the many applications of modal verbs. 10. Modal verbs are a subset of auxiliary verbs and act as such. They can be bundled with not, come before subjects to form questions, represent the rest of the verb phrase in short answers and in question tags, and otherwise do anything that auxiliary verbs can do. This has been 10 Things to Know about Modal Verbs.